From the studios of KENW on the campus of Eastern New Mexico University, it's You Should Know, featuring the people and events of Eastern New Mexico and West Texas.
Welcome to You Should Know. I'm your host, Evelyn Ledbetter, and today I have the pleasure of having Dr. Kalynn Baldock. She is the Assistant Professor of Agriculture and the Department Chair here at Eastern New Mexico University. So thanks for joining me today.
I am super excited to be here.
It's kind of interesting that we have two people that actually have ag backgrounds as females. That's not real common.
Yes. And then even a tighter connection growing up nearby.
That's true. That's true. All that fun of hauling in peanut trailers and all kinds of things. So,
Yes.
Dr. Baldock, tell me a little bit. We obviously grew up together, but tell me about your life early on.
So grew up in good old Arch, New Mexico. So not a lot of people know where that is, but just outside of town a little bit. And we were farmers. We grew in my childhood anywhere from sunflowers, peanuts, corn, alfalfa, wheat, a little bit of everything. We even had some beans at one point. And so grew up just loving the farm. I was always been an outdoor kid, daddy's girl.
Right.
Didn't like school, didn't want to go to school. I thought my dad could teach me everything I needed to know. I mean, my parents literally would put me on the bus crying. My bus driver would shut the door and drive away. And then I found out later she would actually have to walk me into my school sometimes because I would refuse to get off the bus.
There was a lot more fun stuff happening out there at that farm.
Yes. So just wanted to be a farm kid my entire life. And that's, I always thought that's what I'd do. I would farm or I would be a veterinarian. Those were always the two childhood goals.
Dreams. Well, when I was little bitty, I thought I would be a farmer all on my own. I thought I can do this, and life didn't flow that way. But yeah, it gets in your blood.
It does. I mean, my best memories are out there growing up on the farm. You know, people laugh all the time. Be like, yeah, you never ran down a cornfield while the pipe was watering. I was like, that's a good time.
Yeah.
Like, no, we went to the pool. No. That's
Oh
not what we
no.
did.
And I even had a cousin that had when they row watered and had the irrigation ditches. That was the best place in the world to swim.
It was that. I mean,
Yeah, I mean
you're not supposed to, but it's a good place.
it worked. It was fresh water.
It was fresh water.
And your granddad actually, was he the first generation farm or prior to your grandfather?
I believe he was. I don't really know. We
Past
didn't.
that.
Yeah, past him. So I know we were on his farm, part of it. We used to live right there next to them in a trailer house, and then we ended up on the piece of land across. And so we started out with row water,
Right.
pipe irrigation, changing pipe. Freshest water you could ever drink.
Yeah.
People don't even know till you've bent over and drank out of one of those pipes.
Yep.
Or had your great granddad put you over and face first into some water.
That's fun.
And moved into, it was, I've always tell kids, I don't only know about the different irrigation types. I got to live through a lot of them. So we started with the pipe, and then we went into sprinklers, and we started with sprinklers watering way up above the ground till we're dragging the ground till we found that balance. So lots of good things happened.
Lots of
on the
changes,
farm.
lots of conservation and things that have been put in place. If we had known now, or if we had known then what we know now, we could have
Yes.
helped ourselves.
We
But
definitely could
still,
have.
it is a good life. And so after, obviously you made it through high school. Your parents made you get on the bus enough times. You got there.
So
But after high school,
So we were farming and doing a lot of custom farming, and actually I'm a teen mom, so I did alternative school, graduated early, and as a teen mom needed work. Water situation at Arch was disappearing, so
Yeah.
farming was maybe not the best option. So we had an opportunity to try dairying. So at 17, my family, we got put in a small dairy. We had between 800 and 1,000 head of cattle a lot of them were heifers that we calved in.
Oh.
So I did herd management. My brother-in-law did the feeding. My mom and sister worked calves, did the books, and kept the kids because
Wow.
I had a small child. My sister had children. And so kind of a big family effort learning, and it was kind of a learn by doing situation, which is the best, I think.
And this was probably what, early 90s, maybe?
So this was in 2000.
Okay. Because I knew the dairy industry really moved into Eastern New Mexico late 80s and in through that area.
Yeah, so in 2000 is when I believe we started out there at that small dairy. And my dad actually started doing construction, was helping build dairies. Built a dairy at Arch for us to move to on some of our old farmland. So from there, I moved to that dairy. That dairy sold. I worked for that person. Ended up, I loved working cattle, loved that side of it, the dairy side. So for the next 10 years, that's what I did. I worked for a total of 5 different dairies. 4 of them were startups where we calved in heifers and all of that.
Multiple times a night and all
Yes,
that fun stuff,
yes.
checking
So learned. I've seen the vets used to hate it if I ever gave them a call to pull a calf because they knew it was bad because I
Yeah.
pulled so many. So
Yeah.
I've seen some interesting cases. Did herd management. Worked at Millshoe for Tretha Martin at a dairy, and she really was one of those that helped push me. She sent me to get certified for artificial insemination, so I became an AI tech,
Wow.
bred the cattle as well as herd health, and then ultimately from there ended up in Briona at a dairy that my dad had moved back here and was partners on, and so worked there for 7-ish years. It was about a 2,800 head dairy. So lots of cattle, lots of calves.
Lots of black spots.
Yes, we had some cross cattle and some brown Swiss. We had a little bit of everything out there.
So when you started, were you the herdsman? Was that
Yes.
so did you learn from another herdsman? Is that how you kind of got the background? Is you just
I
learned from others?
I kind of learned from asking a lot of questions, doing a lot of my own research on what was needed, visiting with vets, what I'm looking for, what I'm doing. So it was a lot of just learning by error.
Just get in there.
Just get in there, just do it. But a great experience. Like I
Sure.
said, I love the cattle. Um, some of it was a struggle. 17, you're put in
Oh,
there, you're kind of one of the bosses at that
right.
point,
But you're
and
very young and you're
very
female.
young.
And a lot of your workers may not
Yes.
really
So,
want to be bossed around
but
by a young female.
exactly.
By
But
a
what I
female at all, but especially a young one.
young female. But what I learned from that is how to work with people. And a lot of times, even if they are older and maybe they have that mentality that women, shouldn't be in charge, if you just work on that relationship first instead of, hey, I'm in charge, you've got to do this, you work on that relationship, you really just, everything just goes and it becomes more of a partnership versus I'm your boss, you've got to do this thing. And so things worked out well.
I think for
And
me on farm labor, if you're out there doing everything, then if you're willing to do from top to bottom,
yes.
your employees tend to be the same.
Yep.
If you're not too good to get your hands dirty and get in there.
100%. I mean, I told my guys all the time, I will never ask you to do something that
Right.
I haven't done or that I'm not willing to do today. And most of the time I did, I worked right there out beside, right beside them outside doing all of the work
Right.
because I loved it. That's the part I really enjoy.
Now you said that Mrs. Martin that was in, did you say,
That was a mill shoe.
and she really got you started in,
Well, so she just really, helped me to get my certification in my AI. I worked for her for 2 years, so she helped me develop and being able to learn a lot of the things on the dairy that I hadn't learned yet. I was herdsman there. And so then the next spot, which was the one my dad was a partner in, then that's where I
okay.
started doing general managing a little bit of all of it. And so she just,
This is kind of a side note, but I don't think a lot of people realize with the artificial insemination, it's actually where you can determine. I don't understand this a little bit, but I know you can determine more where it's females, where you have heifers versus males.
so that started kind of coming out towards the end of me working in the dairy industry. Yeah, they do sex semen. And so you can actually purchase it. They run it through a machine based on some different things that sorts it. And so then you can buy more female or more male based on what you need in your operation.
And obviously, if you have dairy, you need
Want
the
more
females
heifers.
because the females are what produce
Yes.
milk.
Yes,
So
yes. So that was kind of towards the end of it. And then at Blackridge, that was the one over at Friona. Milk prices kind of tanked. Corn prices were expensive. It was a lot of stress. There was 32 employees, counting on you. You had, that's a lot of money you're dealing with trying to keep
Right.
an operation going. So I decided maybe I needed a backup plan.
Yeah, where you had the water issues here, and a lot of people think all the water for dairies is the cattle, but a lot of it goes into to the forage, to your
Yes.
crops that you grow.
Yes.
So
And that led me to an education.
Right.
from deciding that I needed a backup plan.
Sure. So tell me where you got started with that.
So I was still managing the dairy at Friona, um, married, 3 kids, and decided to get a degree here. So I lived in Clovis, worked in Friona, went to school
Oh,
here. So during my bachelor's degree, had a 210-mile round trip I would make
every day.
every day. So I would get up and I'd be to work in Texas by 4 in the morning. I would work till 8, which allowed me to get here by 8 for classes. I would go to class till noon, go back, finish the day at the dairy, and pick up kids by 3 in Clovis. So students are constantly
Oh,
telling me, I'm just so busy. And it's always a great opportunity for me to go, I understand. Like, I
mhm,
understand busy. It's about choices, and life's about choices. And if it's really what you want, then you make those hard choices and you
mhm.
you do what's necessary to get where you wanted. So I worked with Dr. Smith, got my animal and dairy science degree for
Very
my
nice.
bachelor's.
Okay.
And then he asked me to stay on and get my master's. He had a grant that allowed me to come on as a feed analysis technician. And so we did some research with some algae and some other things, feeding animals.
Mm.
I looked at dairy cattle reproduction. I'd done some synchronization research with dairy cattle. So that's kind of where my focus was research wise. But degree wise, my master's was secondary education.
Oh, how interesting is that? We,
Very
we,
interesting.
we turned left.
We turned left. So we were trying to get a new degree path going that would fit kind of my research area, and that just really wasn't working because it's difficult to get
Those new
the
programs in
paths.
place.
And so it worked out where it looked like I could do secondary education, master's with what I'd kind of done.
Hmm.
So that's what I finished out my master's in. And as I finished that, while I was doing that, I taught a couple classes, animal science, intro to dairy science, as a graduate, and loved it. I found I kind of liked
You like
teaching.
the teaching
I
and
did, and
sharing that knowledge and passing it forward.
which everybody thought was so weird, but I enjoyed it. And as I graduated, a job came open in Clovis to be an ag teacher. And so I applied for 2 jobs at the time, actually, to be an ag teacher and to be an extension agent. Both were open in Clovis.
Sure.
I'll give them both a try. Was not a route I was planning on taking, never what I thought I would do. Always thought I'd just be working somewhere with animals,
Hmm.
not people. Uh,
Animals can be kinder
yeah, and
sometimes.
and for someone like me who I tend to be very blunt and honest, a lot of that doesn't tend so well for working with people all the time because sometimes people can't handle that, you know,
I think
being
when you have
so
someone that's that way, you tend to appreciate it. You know you're going to get the facts. They're going to
well.
shoot it to you straight. So
And
don't ask if you don't want the answer.
that's what I found. People, a lot of people who know me were really worried when I got the job as a teacher. They're like, "Man, I don't know how this is going to
You may
go."
have to filter a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. And what I found is no, students actually respected it. And they really liked that they had someone that would be honest and say, "Man, you're messing up. This is not okay. This is not what you
Well,
should be
that's how you
doing."
improve. If someone always tells you you're doing
You're good.
well,
Hmm.
they
Yeah.
don't challenge you.
Yeah, so kind of fell into teaching. Taught at Clovis, started out, I taught junior high and freshman I was at 3 schools, so I was a traveling teacher.
Mhm.
So I would go from Yucca to Marshall to the freshman academy up there. So did that for a few years, then moved up to the high school. So overall, I taught in Clovis for 8 years as a high school ag teacher and FFA advisor. Loved it. Really enjoyed. I mean, high, everybody always asks, you like college or high school better? And I actually love them both.
You do well with either.
Yeah, if circumstances hadn't been what they were, I probably would have not left because I loved what I was doing.
Hmm.
But while I was teaching, I decided to get my doctorate because I always had that plan of later on moving to university when way later was my
This is
plan.
making me smile for the kiddo that didn't want to go to school, and
I went to
now you're
school.
deciding to do a doctorate.
Yes, the kid that hated school. I was always good at school though, and was voted like most likely to become president. I think I'm in the yearbook at
That
Dora.
leadership just inside.
Yeah,
I
so
like to run the show.
so I was always good at school, just didn't like it. Decided to get my doctorate. So um, I'm one of those. like I said, life's about choices, and if you want something bad enough, you can find a way. So what I found is Texas A&M and Texas Tech had a docket distance program, so that allowed me to still work because, like I said, we had 3 kids at home. I couldn't really not have a job and pay
Right.
to get a degree.
Sure.
So I did the docket distance. So did that while teaching full time as an FFA advisor, and got my doctorate in 2019 and didn't plan on using it. I was just going to have it for
Just kind of like the challenge to
backup
just in
plan.
case.
And then COVID hit.
Oh,
And with COVID and online teaching in the high school, there was just some things they were asking that I didn't want to do. And
right.
so I couldn't do it. So the job here came open and I applied. And that's kind of how I ended up here at Eastern.
Howard Eastern. So when you got here, what were you teaching when you first started?
So when I first started here, it was mostly animal science courses. Intro to dairy science, advanced dairy, horse production, reproductive physiology.
Okay.
Those were kind of
And
my
this was under
first year.
Dr. Smith at that time.
No, so Dr. Smith had left. So it was the chair then was Marshall Swafford.
Hmm.
And so I came on with Marshall Swafford. I was actually hired. There was 2 of us hired at the same time, Mr. O'Connor.
Mhm.
So Mr. O'Connor and I were hired to come in to the ag department. And so that's kind of how I got here.
And so then you progressed. And so tell me how becoming the chair, how did that happen? Or tell me why you wanted that.
So a year after being here, Dr. Swafford had left, and so that made the chair position open. I have never been one to shy away from a leadership role. I enjoy helping others reach their goals. I really like that. So when they were kind of asking around, who, what, I said I was more than willing. So where I worked it out, I co-chaired with Dr. Good. So Dr. Kathy Good really helped me learn the roles and what I needed to do. And so we kind of shared that load. And so then now this year is my first year as chair without the co-chair part.
Okay.
So
Okay. So tell me this. You think Department of Agriculture, but that encompasses a lot more than just ag.
So we're actually, they call us the alphabet department sometimes because we're the Department of Agriculture, Food Science, and Kinesiology, so AFSK. So in our department, of course, there's ag, and then we have our kinesiology, so all of our health and wellness, HPE type. Then we have culinary arts, which we're one of the only bachelor's programs in culinary arts, and then career and technical education. So those are kind of the programs within the department.
Can you tell just a little bit, like the kinesiology? That's somebody that's typically going on into physical therapy.
So they can go that route. So within our kinesiology, we have an HPE K-12. So that's for those that want to go into the school and be physical education. And then we have just the health and wellness track, which is for those that maybe want to do go on to PT, or those that want to, go out and do some type of fitness training, something like that. So that one is kind of broad. We have a wide range. And then we have sports and rec management. And that's our completely online degree. And so that's for people who are wanting to do more like the sports, work within sports organizations and kind of do the managing of those types of things.
Okay. And then your degrees for your ag program.
So in ag, we have an agriculture science degree. And within that, they can do either just the general, or we have a K-12 or K-12 licensure, so they can be ag teachers. And then we have animal science, animal and dairy science, and it's got 2 pathways. We have our production management, so that's those that think they're going to go just manage, work more applied. And then we have the pre-vet, which is the more science side for those wanting to go into vet school.
So the applied would actually be being involved directly in the ag field as far as production of crops or animals. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then we have our BCTE, which is our Bachelor of Career and Technical Education. And so that degree, most of them have already went to like a technical school and got those hours. And then what we do is give them the skills and information knowledge they need to be able to teach in career and technical. to go out and teach in that field. And then in culinary arts, of course, we have our bachelor's in culinary arts and then a minor in nutrition.
Yeah, I've talked to your culinary arts staff, and would love to get them in here and do some
They,
amazing things
y'all
that
definitely should.
they prepare, and food safety and all kinds of things like that.
Yeah,
That's super interesting.
I always tell everybody I love having them in my department. My weight maybe doesn't, because anytime I go down there, they have the best things to eat.
When
They
you
do
walk
such
down,
great things.
when you walk down the sidewalk, I'm going to start watching and
You
join in
should.
behind you.
You should, because I nearly almost always come back with something because they've made those students over there do some amazing things,
That's
and they
cool.
do some catering and some really cool things. And this last year, we actually got them added into the Student Research and Creativity Conference, and so they had some of their meals and their cakes that they had decorated and things like that. So it's really neat over there what they do.
A lot of your students that are coming with the ag production degrees, what are their plans? What do they do with that after they get out?
So it's another one of those.
Ag's not real prevalent. That's not a real high hiring industry
So
in some ways.
it's a broad range of what they're looking to do. So I have some going on into graduate programs, looking to be nutritionists,
Okay.
things like that. I have some that are going straight back out to their family ranch. I have some looking into like feedlots. I have some that go that are going, they decide, well, I'm going to go out and do more branding inspecting, things like that. But now they have that basic understanding. But what people don't realize with the animal and dairy science degree, there's lots of opportunities within bigger organizations. So the egg laying facility at Farwell, two of our graduates are managers of facilities for them across the United States. There's the opportunity to go into Cargill and Tyson and places like those within a wide range, anywhere from the actual production to the processing side.
Sure.
So I have a little bit of everything
There's so
when they
many
come through.
so many things, and then of course some may go on to teaching, like
Yes.
like you did.
Yes, I always tell them, don't ever knock it off the list. You might end up teaching. And then, of course, my pre-vet students, their goal is to
Go on to
go to vet school.
Well, and I've been over to the ag department. You actually raise baby calves. You have chickens. You have some plants that you're growing and gardening. So a lot of hands-on.
Yeah, so I am very much the applied side. So the more hands-on actual activities we can do, that's what I'm going to be doing, because that's just the way I think. So we have right now, currently, it's summer, but we still have some things going. So we have raised bed gardens. We've been growing all kinds of unique things there. We have chickens that came about as part of a grant that I had with Texas Tech. And so students raise the chickens, we have the eggs. The eggs then can go down to culinary. They can utilize them for their classes. And so it's kind of, we're really working towards, and we'd love to work towards, where we have that farm to table opportunity where we can really start here, take it to there, and we can see it all the way across.
That's really cool.
And then bring in some of the younger kids as well, get some elementaries and things, and where we can kind of have that whole piece at future plan. It's not happening yet.
That was kind of leading into, what is a short-term goal that you have for your department?
So the first goal I have for my department is really pushing internships and building those relationships within the community for our students. I am a firm believer that one of the best ways to learn is to get out there and do it.
Right.
I can teach you out of a book all day long, and you need that knowledge. You need it, but
Sure.
then you need to know how to apply it. And so getting them out there where they can actually see how it works, learn how to work within the field.
Because the majority, I'm going to guess, they did not grow up on a farm or a ranch.
Correct. We have some, but there's a large majority that never have. And so, and even those that have grown up, they maybe haven't seen it from an outside perspective. And so it's even good for them to get out and actually do an internship. And, internships teach them more than just about the career field, but things that we're lacking right now as a whole, communication skills.
Right.
Being able to talk. A lot of students will have never made a phone call or done an interview. And so
That's a big push.
internships kind of help open all that up, help them get those connections, help them start
Sure.
talking to people and doing some of those things that they've never had an opportunity to do.
Well, Dr. Baldock, the time goes by so
It
fast.
does.
I mean, we kind of touch, but I appreciate, I mean, you being hands-on in the fields and bringing that into the classroom. You're one of the ones that makes the great teachers.
Thank
So we appreciate it and just want to follow along. So if you have extra eggs, don't hesitate to drop them.
you.
But yeah, so Dr. Baldock, you're a great resource and thank you so much for joining us
Yes,
today.
thank you.
And for all of you watching today, thank you, and we will see you next time. Cheers.